Good morning. Thank you for joining me for another 5 good minutes with the Word. I'm Barry Bryson, and we are continuing our study of the suffering servant passage, and we're halfway through. And um, and we are refocusing now on the Messiah himself as God's suffering servant. And in 49, verses 1 through 7, the major themes of identifying the Messiah are going to be mentioned. So let's just read verses 1 through 7. Listen to me, O islands. Pay attention, you peoples from afar. The Lord called me from the womb. From the body of my mother he named me. He has made my mouth like a sharp sword. In the shadow of his hand he has concealed me. And he has also made me a select arrow, and he has hidden me in his quiver. He said to me, You are my servant Israel, in whom I will show my glory. But I said, I have toiled in vain. I have spent my strength for nothing in vanity. Yet surely the justice due me is with the Lord, and my reward with God. Now, says the Lord, who formed me from the womb to be his servant, to bring Jacob back to him, in order that Israel might be gathered to him. For I am honored in the sight of the Lord, and God is my strength. He says, It is too small a thing that you should be my servant to raise up the tribes of Jacob and restore the preserved ones of Israel. I will also make you a light to the nations, so that my salvation may reach to the ends of the earth. Thus says the Lord, the Redeemer of Israel, and its Holy One, to the despised one, to the one abhorred by the nation, to the servant of rulers. Kings shall see and arise, and princes shall bow down, because the Lord who is faithful, the Holy One of Israel, has chosen you. Okay, so we have God speaking in this passage, the Messiah speaking in this passage, and we also have the prophet speaking at the end in this passage, but it's clearly about the Messiah. And he begins by calling to the islands and then all peoples from afar. Why islands? Well, we know what's to the east, north, and south, and we've already talked about who's to the east, north, and south. We've talked about Assyria. We've talked about Babylon. We've talked about Egypt. What's to the west? The islands of the Mediterranean. The islands, the sea peoples, brought so much technology and culture east with them, and so he's calling. He's like going as far as he can go to call out to the islands of the Mediterranean, to tell all peoples, listen to this. And who's calling? Well, the Messiah himself is. He describes his birth. He's going to be born. He's going to emerge from his mother's womb, but as special to Yahweh. And God will name him. The naming is not just that, is more than just a person naming, but who names the child? The father does. So he's being named by God, will be his father, and the fact that he's an arrow in the quiver of God. That Psalm of David, which had been written 500 years earlier, that they knew so well, that tells us children are a gift from the Lord and they're arrows in your quiver. He's saying, I am God's child. And he describes the words that come out of his mouth like a sword. Do we read that in the New Testament, in the book of Hebrews, in the book of Revelation? Of course we do. And he's made me a select arrow in his quiver. And he says, You're going to be my servant, Israel, Prince of God. Israel can mean Prince of God. And he's going to embody all God's people. And I'm going to show my glory in you. But then we have the Messiah himself, the suffering servant himself said, It hasn't worked. I've toiled in vain. Did Jesus ever get discouraged? Did he ever say to his apostles, Will you leave me too? Were there ever times when he was tired, when he had enough for the day? Of course, the Gospels tell us this over and over again. But God says, no, I'm accomplishing my victory through you. And then he says, I didn't just send you to save the Jews. That's too small a job for you. That's not worthy of your sacrifice. Something bigger is what your sacrifice is about. I have sent you to be a light to all the nations. And so we have this glory how God, how through the Messiah, the suffering servant, all the nations are going to be saved. But then we're reminded that he's not a general winning a military victory. He is a suffering servant because he is the one despised, the one abhorred by the nation, He will also be the one that princes will bow down and rise before. And then we have the prophet saying, because Yahweh was faithful, the Holy One of Israel has chosen you. And the prophet himself is speaking to the Messiah and glorifying the Messiah. And in a sense, through his glorifying the Messiah, comforting the Messiah in his discouragement. I love this passage. I love it so much because of the three voices that we hear, and and because so much that we will experience in the Gospels is contained in these 7 verses. We'll pick up with verse 8 next time. Thank you for joining me for another 5 good minutes with the Word.